God told me to warn you. Listen carefully, because what I am about to say is not just advice, it is a divine mandate. Right now, you are standing at the edge of a financial breakthrough so powerful, so life-altering, that it will change the course of your destiny forever. But there is something you are doing, a habit you have held onto, that is standing directly between you and the blessings God has prepared for you. God is saying, stop it now. Don't wait, don't hesitate. If you continue down this path, you will find that the breakthrough you have been praying for is delayed, diminished, or even lost entirely. You might not even realize it, but every time you cling to this habit, you are opening a door for distraction, for delay, for destruction. God is watching, God is aware, and God is ready to pour out abundance upon you, but only if your heart, your mind, and your actions are aligned with His will. It is not enough to pray, it is not enough to hope, it is not enough to desire a change. God demands obedience. God demands action. God demands that you remove the chains that have held you back so that the blessing that is coming can land fully in your life. Look around you. How many times have you prayed for financial freedom, for stability, for the chance to live a life unburdened by debt and worry, and yet something always seems to block you? The bills pile up. Opportunities pass you by. Your efforts seem fruitless. Why? Because there is a habit, a small but dangerous practice that you have allowed to grow in your life. It may seem harmless. It may even seem necessary, but God sees it differently. God sees the root, and God knows the fruit it will produce if left unchecked. God is calling you to examine your life with unflinching honesty. What is it that you do when no one is watching? What is it that drains your energy, your resources, your focus, your faith? God is speaking to you now, not in a whisper, but with a voice that shakes the heavens. Stop this habit. It could be the habit of procrastination, the habit of reckless spending, the habit of doubting God's plan, the habit of laziness, the habit of gossip, the habit of comparing yourself to others, or even the habit of clinging to fear. Whatever it is, God knows, and God will not allow it to continue unchallenged if you are truly seeking the breakthrough that is coming. You see, God's blessings do not land on chaos. God's blessings do not fall on disobedience. God's blessings are not poured into hands that are closed to His wisdom, His correction, His guidance. If you want a breakthrough, you must first prepare yourself. You must first remove the habits that defile the space God intends to fill with abundance. You must first honor God with your actions, your choices, your discipline, your faith. Let me speak to the part of you that is tired. I know you are tired. I know you are frustrated. I know you have cried out, sometimes in the middle of the night, questioning if God even hears you. But I tell you now, God hears you. God sees you. God has not abandoned you. God is not withholding from you. The breakthrough is near, closer than you think. But God cannot pour into a life that continues to practice what is contrary to His purpose. God cannot bless a hand that continues to take more than it honors, a mind that continues to dwell on lack instead of faith, a heart that continues to entertain doubt instead of trust. I want you to feel this deep in your spirit. What you are holding on to is holding you back. The habit you refuse to break is the very thing that will determine whether your financial breakthrough arrives on time or is delayed. It may be uncomfortable to hear, but God's truth often is. God's words are not always gentle, but they are always necessary. God's warning is not a threat, it is a lifeline. God is giving you a chance to act before it is too late. Now, I want you to ask yourself, are you ready to obey? Are you ready to let go of what has been comforting you, even if it is destroying you slowly? Are you ready to align your life with God's purpose so that when the breakthrough comes, it will come fully, completely, overwhelmingly. You cannot serve God and serve your habit. You cannot receive God's provision while clinging to what corrupts your spirit and your finances. You must make a choice today. You must decide, will you continue in the same patterns that have produced lack, frustration, and delay, or will you obey God and open your life to the flood of abundance He is preparing? God told me to warn you because God loves you. God wants your life to overflow. God wants to see you rise above every limitation, every setback, every disappointment. But God also knows that true blessing requires preparation, requires sacrifice, requires obedience. God knows that every habit you indulge in that contradicts His will is a barrier. Every time you make the wrong choice, every time you delay the discipline, every time you ignore the warning, you are delaying your own blessing. Do you understand the power of what I am saying? This is not about luck. This is not about chance. This is about divine timing, divine provision, and divine alignment. God is about to open doors that no one can shut, to provide opportunities that no human hand can create, to release wealth that cannot be measured in mere numbers. But these doors will only open to those who are ready, those who have heeded the warning, those who have removed the habits that weaken their hands and cloud their hearts. I know some of you may feel hopeless. I know some of you may feel that you have tried everything and yet nothing changes. I know some of you have prayed, fasted, given, and yet the breakthrough seems distant. But listen to me now. God is not slow. God is not absent. God is not inattentive. God is simply waiting for you to step fully into obedience. God is waiting for you to act. God is waiting for you to remove the chains, to correct the course, to turn away from the habits that delay your destiny. Let this sink in. The very thing you think is harmless, the very thing you defend, the very thing you say you cannot live without, God is calling it out. God is saying, stop it. And if you do not, the breakthrough will come, but you may not be ready to receive it. God's blessings are not wasted, but they are best received by hands that are ready, hearts that are aligned, and spirits that are obedient. You must act now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not after one more prayer. Now, God is calling. God is speaking. God is ready to move on your behalf. The breakthrough is near, but your readiness is required. Remove the habit. Stop the behavior. Change the pattern. Open your life to God's abundance fully. Open your heart to God's wisdom completely. Open your hands to God's provision without reservation. Your breakthrough is coming. I feel it in my spirit. I see it in the heavens. I hear the declaration of God. I am about to release wealth, opportunities, and provision beyond what you can imagine. But you cannot receive it while holding on to what God has said to let go. God has given you a warning. God has given you a mandate. God has given you a path to follow so that when the flood of provision comes, you are ready to stand in it, receive it, steward it, aid, and honor it. I want you to feel the weight of this moment. This is not ordinary. This is not a motivational speech you will forget. This is a divine word from God delivered through His servant. This is a call to action that will define the next chapter of your life. Do not treat it lightly. Do not brush it off. Do not say, I'll deal with it later. Deal with it now. Obey now. Act now. The breakthrough is near, and God's glory is ready to shine in your life like never before. God is saying to you right now, the moment you have been waiting for is almost upon you. The financial breakthrough, the abundance, the favor that will lift you above every struggle is closer than your next breath. But hear me clearly. The road to this breakthrough is paved with obedience. The road to God's provision is not a road of comfort, laziness, or indulgence in habits that weaken your spirit and your future. If you continue to entertain what God has commanded you to release, you will find that your blessing is delayed, limited, or even missed. God cannot pour into a life that is cluttered with disobedience. Look at your own life. What have you been holding on to? What do you defend as necessary, convenient, or harmless? God is asking you to take a moment, no more than a moment, to examine your habits, your patterns, your daily choices. Every small compromise, every unwise choice, every distraction that takes your eyes off God's plan is a chain around your destiny. God sees it, God knows it, and God is calling you to cut those chains today. Some of you are addicted to the ease of delay. You tell yourself, I will start tomorrow. I will change next week. But God's breakthrough does not wait for procrastination. God's favor does not linger in a room where inaction is allowed to thrive. Every minute you delay, every hour you cling to what God has said to abandon, you push the blessing far from your reach. God is commanding you to act, and you must act now. The time for excuses is over. The time for hesitation has passed. You may think that your small indulgences, your repeated mistakes, your harmless routines do not affect the flow of God's provision. But let me tell you, nothing escapes God's observation. Every misstep, every delay, every moment of disobedience is known to God, and God is serious about preparation. God's provision is holy, powerful, transformative, and it requires a vessel that is pure, disciplined, and ready. If you wish to receive a financial breakthrough, you must prepare yourself, for God's blessings do not land in a house of chaos or neglect. I want you to imagine the life that God has for you. Imagine waking up without fear of bills, without the weight of debt, without the worry of survival pressing down on your spirit. Imagine doors opening that no one could have imagined, opportunities arriving that defy human logic, resources appearing where you did not even know to look. This is the life God has for you. But it will not come to a soul who refuses to obey. It will not land in the life of one who continues to practice habits that drain, distract, and diminish. God is calling you to alignment. God is calling you to surrender. God is calling you to readiness. Let us speak frankly about the habits that often block God's blessings. Perhaps it is the habit of overspending. Spending on things that offer temporary pleasure but no long-term value. Perhaps it is the habit of procrastination, delaying your plans, your growth, your responsibilities. Perhaps it is the habit of fear, allowing anxiety to dominate your choices instead of faith. Perhaps it is the habit of comparing yourself to others, stealing your focus and gratitude. Whatever it is, God sees it. And God is calling it out. God is commanding you to stop. You might be aching, but I can manage it. I can balance it. No. God's favor is not for the one who negotiates with his instructions. God's favor is for the one who obeys fully, who cuts off what must be cut, who surrenders what must be surrendered. This is the law of divine blessing. God prepares the way, and obedience opens the door. Delay, compromise, and half-hearted effort only slow the manifestation of God's promise. Now, I want you to feel the weight of God's voice within you. God is saying, I am about to bless you, but I cannot bless what is contrary to my purpose. I am about to open the floodgates of provision, but you must be ready. I am about to shift your life into a new season of abundance, but you must step into alignment with my will. Can you hear it? Can you feel it deep in your soul? God is calling you to rise above the habits that have held you back for too long. The power of this moment is undeniable. You are standing at the threshold of transformation, a place where God's hand is poised to move in ways that human understanding cannot fathom. But here is the challenge. God does not force open hearts, does not pour into hands that are not ready, does not bless lives that are still entangled in patterns of delay, distraction, and disobedience. You must choose. You must act. You must surrender. God has shown me visions of your breakthrough. I see doors opening. I see debts dissolving. I see opportunities arriving with supernatural timing. I see favor being released in ways that defy logic and expectation. But this vision is conditional. The vision is contingent upon your willingness to act, to obey, to align. The habit that God has warned you about is the barrier. Remove it, stop it, let it go now. Do not bargain, do not negotiate, do not delay. God's timing is perfect and your readiness must meet it. There is a spiritual law at work here. Blessing flow to obedience. Delay flows from disobedience. Prosperity comes to those who act, who discipline, who prepare, who honor God in their daily choices. Every day you cling to the habit that God has said to remove. You invite delay into your life. Every moment you continue what God has commanded you to abandon, you block the abundance that is coming. But when you obey, when you act, when you surrender, you open the door for miracles, for breakthroughs, for provision beyond your imagination. God is calling you to discipline, to accountability, to self-examination. God is calling you to see the truth of your life without excuses, without justification, without denial. This is not a time for comfort. This is not a time for compromise. This is a time for boldness, courage, and obedience. God is calling you to remove what is defiling your path, so that the abundance, the favor, and the breakthrough can flow unhindered. I want you to hear this and take it to heart. Your breakthrough is inevitable if you obey. But the timing, the fullness, the magnitude of that breakthrough depends on your readiness. God will not withhold what is already yours, but God also cannot bless what is unprepared. Obedience is the key. Discipline is the key. Readiness is the key. Take a moment now and examine your habits, your patterns, your routines. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that God has said to release? What am I tolerating that God has commanded me to stop? What am I defending that God has warned against? Look honestly, without excuse, without compromise, and then act. Remove it, stop it. Align yourself fully with God's will. God is about to pour out a blessing so great, so transformative, so powerful that your life will never be the same. But it will come only to the one who obeys fully, who acts decisively, who surrenders completely. Your habit is not greater than God. Your fear is not stronger than God. Your delay is not more powerful than God. God is greater than all of it. God is able to move mountains, to break chains, to open doors, to release provision that defies human logic. But God will move only into a heart that is ready, a life that is aligned, a spirit that has chosen obedience over compromise. God is speaking to you now, and I want you to understand the weight of His words. This is not a time for casual reflection. This is a time for radical obedience. The habit that God has warned you about is not just a small inconvenience, it is a barrier between you and the fullness of the blessing He has prepared. It may have seemed harmless, it may have seemed trivial, but God sees the root of the matter. And God knows the destruction it produces when left unchecked. Your breakthrough will not coexist with what God has said to remove. There is no compromise, there is no negotiation, there is only obedience. Consider this, how many times have you prayed for financial freedom, for stability, for abundance, and yet your answers seem delayed? How many times have you waited for opportunities that never came or resources that never appeared? Could it be that you are unknowingly blocking the very hand of God through this habit? God is not punishing you. God is not angry at you. God is simply waiting for you to do what is necessary to receive what is already yours. God is ready to move, but you must be ready first. I want you to hear this deeply. God's blessings are not passive. They are not for those who drift through life with hope in one hand and compromise in the other. God's favor flows to the obedient, to the disciplined, to the vigilant. If you desire the breakthrough, you must rise above what is comfortable, above what is familiar, and above what you have allowed to drain your energy and focus. God is calling you to prepare, to purify, to prioritize. Your breakthrough is near, but only if your heart, your mind, and your actions are fully aligned with God's plan. Many of you are caught in a cycle. You pray, you hope, you dream, yet you continue the habits that hinder your progress. Perhaps it is spending beyond your means, buying temporary pleasure at the cost of long-term provision. Perhaps it is indecision, waiting for the perfect moment, while God's opportunities pass by. Perhaps it is fear, doubt, or distraction that keeps your focus away from God's instructions. Whatever it is, God has seen it, God has spoken about it, and God is calling you to remove it. The time to act is now. Listen to me carefully. The breakthrough you seek will come, but it will come in a way that exposes your readiness. God's provision is not measured by what you say you want, but by what you are willing to surrender. God does not pour blessing into hands that cling to what He has commanded them to release. God does not open doors for those who hesitate at the threshold of obedience. God's timing is perfect, but it is matched by the readiness of your heart. If you refuse to act, the breakthrough may be delayed. But if you obey fully, it will come with speed, power, and authority beyond your understanding. I want you to imagine for a moment the life that God has promised. Picture waking up every day without fear, without debt, without worry. Picture doors opening in your career, your finances, your opportunities that no human hand could have created. Picture blessings flowing to you from directions you never imagined, resources appearing as if by miracle. This is the reality that God has prepared for you, but you must act. You must remove the habit that clouds your heart and distracts your focus. You must stop what God has warned against. Only then will your life be ready to receive. God is calling you to radical obedience, and it may feel uncomfortable. It may feel inconvenient. It may challenge your pride, your comfort, and your routines. But understand this, God's provision does not yield to comfort. God's favor does not respond to delay. God's blessings are reserved for those who are willing to take the difficult step, to break the habit, to align their life fully with God's plan. If you desire abundance, you must be willing to disrupt the patterns that have kept you stagnant. Do not underestimate the power of God's warning. What God is telling you is not a suggestion, it is a lifeline. The habit that has kept you from your breakthrough is a silent thief, stealing time, focus, energy, and resources. Every moment you continue it, every rationalization you make, every justification you create is a moment in which God's provision could have flowed freely into your life. Do not allow it to continue. God is speaking. God is warning. God is providing a path for your readiness, and you must choose to follow it. You may feel fear as you consider letting go of this habit. You may worry about what life will look like without it. You may fear discomfort or uncertainty, but understand this: God is greater than every fear. God is stronger than every challenge. God is able to guide you through every transition, to protect you from every loss, and to bless you beyond what you can imagine. The only requirement is obedience. The only prerequisite is action. The only path to full blessing is through surrender to God's instruction. Now is the time to take a stand. Decide today that you will no longer entertain the habit that has blocked your financial breakthrough. Decide that you will no longer allow delay, distraction, or fear to dictate your destiny. Decide that you will follow God's instruction fully, without compromise, without hesitation, without negotiation. God is ready to reward your obedience. God is ready to release provision that exceeds your imagination. God is ready to open doors that no one can close, but your readiness is required. Hear me clearly, your breakthrough is inevitable if you obey. But the timing, the fullness, the magnitude of that breakthrough depends on your willingness to act. Remove the habit, stop the behavior, surrender completely. Do not bargain, do not delay. God has provided the instructions, the warning, and the path. You must follow it. Your life, your finances, your opportunities, and your future depend on it. God is ready to bless you, but you must be ready first. Prepare your heart, purify your mind, discipline your actions, and remove what God has commanded you to release. Only then will the floodgates of provision open fully. Only then will your life shift into a new season of abundance. Only then will you experience the financial breakthrough that God has promised in ways that are beyond human comprehension. Your time is now. The habit that has held you back is not stronger than God. The delay that has frustrated you is not greater than God. The fear that has paralyzed you is not mightier than God. God is more powerful than all obstacles combined. God is ready to move, to act, to provide, and to bless. But your obedience is the key. Remove the habit. Stop the pattern, surrender fully, align completely. The breakthrough is near, and God is calling you to be ready. God is telling you now, the breakthrough that you have been praying for is not coming to those who compromise. It is not coming to those who excuse their habits, rationalize their choices, or cling to patterns that defile their readiness. Every moment you allow this habit to continue, you are delaying what God has ordained. You are standing at the doorway of blessing and holding the key that will unlock it, yet refusing to turn it. God is calling you to action. God is commanding obedience. God is offering you the chance to step fully into the season of abundance prepared specifically for you. Do not underestimate the seriousness of this warning. God is not speaking casually. God is not offering suggestions. God is issuing a command that, if ignored, will cost you the fullness of what He has prepared. Habits that drain your resources, that cloud your judgment, and that steal your focus or that create chaos in your life are not compatible with divine provision. God's breakthrough is pure, powerful, and transformative. It requires a life that is ready, a heart that is surrendered, and a spirit that is disciplined. You must understand this truth deeply. Blessings follow obedience. Delay follows compromise. Prosperity is released to the disciplined, to the vigilant, to the prepared. The habit you cling to may seem insignificant, but God sees its consequences. Every indulgence, every distraction, every act of procrastination is a door closed to divine provision. God cannot pour abundance into a life that is still entangled in what is contrary to His will. Obedience is the key that unlocks doors no human hand can open. I want you to examine your life without flinching. What is it that you do each day that undermines your future? What is it that you defend as harmless, convenient, or necessary, when in truth it is delaying your destiny? God sees it, God knows it, and God is commanding you to stop it. This is not a request, this is not advice, this is divine instruction. Remove the habit, stop the pattern, surrender fully, align yourself completely with God's plan. Only then will you be ready to receive what God is ready to release. Consider the life that God has prepared for you. Imagine waking up each day without fear, without lack, without anxiety about survival. Imagine doors opening that no human effort could create. Opportunities arriving with divine precision, resources flowing from sources you never imagined. This is your inheritance, this is your season. But it requires preparation. It requires surrender. It requires discipline. It requires obedience. The habit that God has warned you about is the obstacle. Remove it. Stop it. Act now. Many of you are hesitant. You fear letting go. You fear change. You fear discomfort. But understand this. God is greater than every fear, stronger than every challenge, and able to guide you through every transition. God's instruction is not meant to punish you, it is meant to prepare you. The habit you cling to is a barrier, but God's guidance is the path to freedom. Obey and God will provide. Hesitate and God's provision waits. I want you to feel the urgency of this moment. God is not passive. God is not slow. God is moving on your behalf. But God's movement requires your readiness. The breakthrough is near, but you must meet it with obedience. The moment you stop the habit, the chains are broken. The moment you surrender, the path is clear. The moment you align fully with God's instruction, the floodgates of blessing open and your life transforms in ways you cannot yet comprehend. God's provision is not delayed by circumstance, it is delayed by readiness. God's favor does not linger for those who cling to what is contrary to His will. Every moment of delay, every excuse, every rationalization is a moment that could have been spent receiving God's abundance. You must act, you must obey, you must remove the habit now. Think of it this way, God's blessings are like a river, powerful and unstoppable. But if the river encounters a dam, the water cannot flow. The habit that God has warned you about is your dam. It blocks the flow of provision, opportunity, and abundance. God is calling you to remove the dam. God is commanding you to act. Only then will the river of blessing flow freely into your life. Your readiness is your responsibility. God has provided the instruction. God has issued the warning. God has prepared the way. But the choice to obey is yours. Every step you take toward obedience is a step toward the financial breakthrough, the abundance, and the favor that God has ordained. Every moment you delay, every moment you resist is a moment that prolongs struggle, scarcity, and frustration. Hear me clearly. The breakthrough is coming. It is inevitable. But it will come only to the one who acts. It will come only to the one who prepares. It will come only to the one who obeys. God's favor is powerful, unstoppable, and transformative, but it cannot land in a life that is still entangled in habits that block provision. Remove the habit, stop the pattern, surrender fully, align completely. Your destiny depends on it. God has seen your struggle. God has witnessed your efforts. God has heard your prayers. God is about to release the blessing that you have been waiting for. But God cannot pour into a hand that clings to what must be released. God cannot bless a heart that resists correction. God cannot open doors for those who refuse to step forward in obedience. This is the law of divine favor. Obedience is the key. Discipline is the key. Readiness is the key. Take a moment now to reflect. What is it that God is calling you to stop? What is it that God is warning you against? What is it that is standing between you and your breakthrough? Look honestly, without excuse, without rationalization, without compromise, and then act. Remove it, stop it, surrender fully, align completely. Only then will the floodgates of provision open and your life will be transformed. Now hear me clearly. The time has come for you to act. The warning has been delivered. The path has been illuminated. God has spoken, and God's voice is not to be ignored. Your financial breakthrough is near, more real than you have imagined, more powerful than your current struggles, but it will only manifest in a life that is ready, a heart that is surrendered, and hands that are obedient. God's provision is waiting. God's favor is poised. God's blessing is prepared. Do not wait another moment. Remove the habit that has been holding you. Stop the pattern that has delayed your destiny. Surrender fully, completely, without hesitation. Align your life with God's instruction. Stand firm in obedience. Declare your readiness. Embrace the discipline. Walk in faith. Let God's power flow unhindered into every area of your life. Your breakthrough is not a dream. It is a promise. Your abundance is not luck. It is God's decree. Your financial victory is not coincidence. It is the result of divine timing and obedience. God is calling you to step forward now, to remove what blocks the blessing, and to prepare your life for the flood of provision that is about to be released. God has spoken, God has warned, God has prepared, and now it is your choice to obey. Rise up, take action, align yourself fully with God's will, walk boldly into the season of abundance. Stand ready to receive the blessing that God has ordained for you. Your financial breakthrough is near. Obey, act, prepare, and watch as God's glory transforms your life beyond imagination. Now is the moment to rise above every distraction, every indulgence, every habit that has kept you from the fullness of God's provision. Do not underestimate the power of obedience. Do not question the authority of God's instruction. The breakthrough that you have longed for, the abundance that you have cried out for, the financial favor that you have prayed for, it is all ready to manifest. But God cannot pour into a life that continues to cling to what He has commanded to be released. The choice is yours. Stand firm. Declare boldly that you will no longer be bound by delay, fear, or compromise. Declare that you will surrender fully, without hesitation, without excuse, without reservation. Let God's voice resonate in your spirit, directing your steps, shaping your choices, and empowering your actions. Every moment of obedience moves you closer to the breakthrough. Every act of surrender clears the path for God's glory to shine in your life. Know this truth deeply. God's timing is perfect. God's provision is unstoppable. God's blessing is beyond measure. Nothing can prevent it from reaching you except the walls you build with disobedience and delay. Tear down those walls. Remove the obstacles. Stop the habits that defile your readiness. Align your life completely with God's will, and watch as the heavens open and pour out abundance that exceeds your imagination. God is calling you to courage. God is calling to action. God is calling you to readiness. The blessing is near. The breakthrough is inevitable. But it is reserved for those who obey fully, who prepare diligently, and who surrender completely. Today, make the choice. Today, take the step. Today, align yourself fully with God's command. Your financial breakthrough is not just coming, it is already on its way. Be ready to receive it and let God's glory transform every area of your life.